Commander Isabella Rivera stood motionless before the towering alien guard, her breath steady despite the hammering of her heart. Gateway 6's pristine white corridors stretched behind her, the pride of human engineering now dwarfed by the biomechanical marvel of the alien embassy's entrance. The guard's crystalline exoskeleton caught the light in impossible ways, fracturing it into colors humans had no names for. Its four arms remained crossed in an unmistakable gesture of denial, while its compound eyes studied her with cold calculation. "The embassy is closed to humans," it stated, its translator rendering the clicks and whistles into flat English. "Return to your section of the station." Isabella's hand tightened around the ancient paper envelope in her pocket. After 15 years of service in the Interstellar Defense Force, she'd never imagined her most important mission would hinge on delivering a physical letter. "I have direct authorization from the Earth Council," she said, keeping her voice level. "This message must reach Ambassador Crickstall immediately." The guard's crystalline plates shifted, creating a sound like wind chimes in a storm. "The ambassador does not accept unscheduled human visitors. Your council's authority ends at the embassy threshold." Isabella withdrew the envelope, its cream-colored paper looking absurdly primitive against the living metal walls. The guard's eyes focused on it immediately, and she noticed a subtle change in its posture. "This isn't a normal diplomatic communication," she said. "Look at the seal." The guard hesitated, its upper arms uncrossing to accept the envelope. As it examined the wax seal, Isabella caught the faintest flicker of recognition in its alien features. The seal bore the mark of Project Starbridge, a classified initiative even she knew nothing about, despite her high clearance. "Wait here," the guard commanded, disappearing through a portal that materialized in the previously seamless wall. Left alone, Isabella fought the urge to pace. The message had arrived 3 days ago, accompanied by orders that still made no sense. She was to deliver it personally, without scanning or copying its contents. No digital transmission, no quantum encryption, just paper and ink. The walls around her seemed to pulse with alien technology, making her feel like she stood in the belly of some vast living organism. Gateway 6 had been humanity's greatest achievement when it opened 5 years ago, a sprawling space station at the edge of Earth's solar system. Now, after the arrival of the Meridians 6 months ago, it felt more like a quaint historical replica. The guard returned so silently that Isabella nearly jumped when it spoke. "Ambassador Crickstall will see you." The portal reappeared, wider this time. "Follow the path. Do not deviate." Isabella stepped through into a corridor that defied human architecture. The walls curved and branched like organic matter, lit from within by streams of bioluminescent fluid. The floor beneath her boots felt almost soft, yet completely stable. As she walked, suspended globes of liquid metal floated past like silent sentinels. She recognized them as Meridian data nodes, each containing more processing power than all of Earth's quantum computers combined. The display of technological superiority was likely intentional, a reminder of humanity's relative primitive status in the galaxy. The corridor opened into a vast chamber that seemed to stretch infinitely upward. At its center, Ambassador Crickstall waited. Unlike the guard, the ambassador's crystalline form was shot through with veins of golden light, and its dozen eyes arranged in a perfect circle around its head. "Commander Rivera," it said, its voice resonating directly in her mind rather than through a translator. "You bring us an interesting message." Isabella bowed slightly, following the diplomatic protocol she'd been taught. "Ambassador, I'm merely the courier. I don't know the contents." "But you do," Crickstall interrupted. "You have always known, though you do not yet realize it." A chill ran down Isabella's spine. "I don't understand." The paper message was a formality, a key to open a door. The ambassador's eyes pulsed in synchronized patterns. "The real message is carried in your genetic code, a gift from your ancestors, waiting to be awakened." Isabella's training warred with her rising confusion. "My genetic code? That's impossible. I'm just a soldier." "You are far more than that," Commander Rivera. You are a bridge between our peoples, though neither side fully understood this when they set these events in motion. Crixtol moved closer, its crystalline form towering over her. Would you like to know what you really are? Before Isabella could respond, the chamber filled with a golden light that seemed to penetrate her very being. As consciousness slipped away, she heard the ambassador's final words echoing in her mind. Let me show you the truth about your species, and why the galaxy has been waiting for you to finally arrive. The universe went white, and Isabella began to remember things that had never happened, yet somehow had always been true. The memories hit Isabella like a tidal wave. She saw distant worlds through eyes that weren't her own, witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations across millennia. Each vision felt more real than the last, burning themselves into her consciousness with crystalline clarity. What you're experiencing, Ambassador Crixtol's voice echoed through her mind, is the collective memory of our first contact with Earth, not 6 months ago, but 50,000 years in the past. Through the golden haze, Isabella watched as ancient Meridian ships descended on a primitive Earth. But instead of conquest, she saw something entirely different: careful observation, subtle guidance, and most surprisingly, genetic modification. We were not the only ones watching your species, Crixtol continued. Humanity had caught the attention of many galactic civilizations. Some saw potential. Others saw threat. The vision shifted to show her vast council chambers, filled with diverse alien species. Arguments raged across translation fields, each race advocating for their own approach to the emerging human species. The Meridians stood apart, proposing something unprecedented. We chose to help guide your evolution, the ambassador explained, not to control it, but to preserve something we saw in your kind, something rare in the galaxy. Isabella fought through the disorientation. What could possibly be so special about humans? We're centuries behind your technology. Technology is not everything, Commander. Your species possesses something far more valuable: adaptive creativity. The ability to see solutions where others see only problems. We encoded markers in your DNA, waiting for the right moment in your development to activate them. The golden light faded, leaving Isabella standing once again in the ambassador's chamber. Her legs trembled with the effort of remaining upright. The letter, she said, understanding dawning. It wasn't just a message, it was a trigger. Correct. The specific sequence of ink compounds, combined with the quantum-entangled seal, served to activate dormant genetic sequences in your cellular structure. You are the first of what your species will become. Isabella's mind raced. Why me? Why now? Crixtol's crystalline form dimmed slightly. Because the galaxy stands on the brink of war. The very races that opposed our intervention in human development have grown powerful. They believe the only path to survival is the elimination of all potential rivals. And humanity is a potential rival. Isabella asked, though she already knew the answer. You are more than that. You are the only species whose creative potential matches their military doctrine. Your adaptability makes you unpredictable, dangerous in their eyes. The ambassador moved closer. The genetic markers we left in your ancestors were not weapons or tools. They were keys to unlock your species' true potential. Isabella felt something stirring inside her, a sensation of power and awareness she'd never experienced before. The chamber's alien technology no longer seemed mysterious. She could sense its patterns, understand its purpose. How many others? She asked. How many humans carry these markers? All of you do, but only a few. Those with the right combination of genetic factors can serve as catalysts. Through you, the changes will spread to all of humanity. If you choose to accept this role, the weight of the revelation pressed down on Isabella. The fate of her entire species could hinge on her decision. But something didn't add up. Why tell me all this? Why not simply activate the changes without warning? Crixtol's eyes pulsed with what might have been approval. Because choice is what makes your species unique. Forced evolution would rob you of the very qualities that make you valuable. The changes must be accepted, embraced. A distant alarm began to sound, its pitch rising urgently. The ambassador's form tensed. "They have found us," it said. "The opposition moves faster than we anticipated." "Who has found us?" Isabella demanded, but she already felt the answer resonating through the station's living walls. "The purifiers. Those who believe humanity's potential makes you too dangerous to exist." Krixtal's voice grew urgent. "They mean to end the experiment permanently, to eliminate humanity before the changes can take hold." The chamber shuddered as something massive docked with Gateway 6. Isabella's military training kicked in, analyzing threats and options. "How long do we have?" "Minutes, perhaps less. The purifiers will not risk allowing you to leave this station alive, not now that the process has begun." The ambassador's form began to shift, its crystalline structure flowing like liquid metal. "You must make your choice now, Commander Rivera. Accept what you are becoming, or remain as you are. Either way, the next few moments will determine the fate of your entire species." Isabella felt the change continuing inside her, accelerating with each heartbeat. New awareness bloomed in her mind, bringing with it capabilities she'd never dreamed possible. The choice wasn't just about her anymore. It was about humanity's survival. She squared her shoulders, decision made. "Show me what I need to do." Krixtal's form stabilized into something new, half crystalline ambassador, half living weapon. "Then let us begin. The future of two peoples now rests in your hands." The station's walls pulsed red as the purifiers began their assault, and Isabella prepared to embrace a destiny 50,000 years in the making. The transformation rippled through Isabella's body like liquid fire. Her senses expanded exponentially. Suddenly, she could perceive the quantum fluctuations in the station's power grid, feel the electromagnetic pulses of approaching purifier vessels through the hull. "They come in force," Krixtal observed, its crystalline form now a swirling matrix of defensive configurations. 3 capital ships, at least 24 boarding craft. Isabella's newly enhanced mind processed the tactical situation with impossible speed. The station's civilian population, being evacuated to the emergency shelters, but the purifiers will not be interested in them. You are their target. Through the station's sensors, Isabella watched as the first wave of purifier troops breached the outer airlocks. Their armor was like nothing she'd seen before, not metal or crystal, but something that seemed to bend light itself around them. "Your genetic activation is still incomplete," Krixtal warned. "We must reach the containment chamber before." The ambassador's words cut off as a massive explosion rocked the station. Isabella staggered, catching herself against a wall that now felt alive beneath her touch. Through her enhanced perception, she sensed the station's systems frantically rerouting power, compensating for damaged sectors. "They're not just trying to kill me," she realized. "They mean to destroy the entire station." Yes, the purifiers believe in thorough solutions. They will leave no trace of what was begun here. Isabella's military training merged with her expanding consciousness, forming new strategies. Then we use that against them. How many security forces do we have? The station's garrison includes 300 human troops and 70 Meridian peacekeepers. Krixtal's form rippled. But against purifier shock troops. Numbers aren't everything, Isabella interrupted, a plan forming in her mind. Especially not when we can rewrite the rules of engagement. She reached out with her new senses, connecting to the station's command networks. Information flooded her awareness. Troop positions, weapons capabilities, structural weaknesses. But more importantly, she could feel the station itself, its semi-organic systems waiting to be directed. "Ambassador, I need direct access to Gateway's environmental controls." Krixtal hesitated. That level of integration could accelerate the genetic changes beyond safe parameters. "Safe isn't an option anymore." Isabella's voice was firm. "Give me control." The ambassador's crystalline form pulsed once, and suddenly Isabella's consciousness expanded again. She became Gateway 6, feeling every corridor, every system, every beating heart within its walls. Just in time, the first wave of Purifier troops had reached their level. They moved like living shadows, their armor absorbing light and energy. Standard weapons would be useless against them, but Isabella wasn't planning to fight fair. With a thought, she initiated her counterattack. Throughout the station, gravity plating reversed polarity in cascading waves. Purifier troops suddenly found themselves thrown against ceilings, their perfect formations shattered. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut in precise sequences, isolating and trapping enemy units. Impressive, Krixtal observed. But they will adapt quickly. Indeed, the Purifiers were already recalibrating their armor to compensate for the gravity fluctuations. But Isabella was just getting started. She redirected the station's atmospheric processors, creating localized pressure differentials that sent hurricane-force winds howling through specific corridors. When the Purifiers adjusted for that, she introduced electromagnetic pulses tuned to the exact frequency of their armor's power systems. "We need to move," she said aloud, even as her mind continued orchestrating the defense. "Where's this containment chamber?" "Lower levels, but the path is not clear." Isabella allowed herself a grim smile. "Then we'll make it clear." She reached deeper into the station's systems, bypassing safety protocols to access its most experimental features. Gateway 6 had been designed with cutting-edge human-alien hybrid technology, including prototype matter manipulation fields. The corridor ahead of them transformed, its walls flowing like mercury to create new passages while sealing others. Purifier troops found themselves facing dead ends, where moments before there had been clear paths to their target. But the enemy was learning, adapting. A massive energy surge from one of their capital ships pierced the station's shields, drilling through multiple decks. Warning signals screamed through Isabella's enhanced awareness. "Hull breach in sections 7 through 12, she reported. "They're trying to force us into predictable evacuation routes." "An effective strategy," Krixtal agreed. "One that has won them many victories. But not this one." Isabella's connection to the station deepened further, because they don't understand what they're really fighting. She wasn't just commanding Gateway's systems anymore. She was evolving them, just as she herself was evolving. Under her guidance, damaged sections began repairing themselves in new ways, incorporating elements of both human and Meridian technology to become something entirely unique. The Purifiers had come expecting to find a half-transformed human and a rogue ambassador. Instead, they faced an entire station that was rapidly becoming as adaptive and creative as humanity itself. But the strain was beginning to show. Isabella felt blood trickling from her nose, her human body struggling to contain her expanding consciousness. The genetic changes were accelerating, transforming her faster than even Krixtal had anticipated. "The containment chamber," she gasped. "How much further?" "Close. But our pursuers are closing faster." Through the station's sensors, Isabella tracked multiple Purifier strike teams converging on their position. She had bought them time, confused the enemy, but she couldn't hold them off forever. Not without completing her transformation. "Then we better run." They sprinted through the morphing corridors, racing against both the pursuing Purifiers and the clock of Isabella's own metamorphosis. With each passing moment, she could feel herself becoming something more than human. But would it be enough to save her species? The containment chamber waited ahead, its ancient technologies promising either salvation or damnation. All they had to do was reach it. Behind them, the shadows of humanity's would-be executioners grew longer. The containment chamber loomed before them, a perfect sphere of impossible geometry, suspended in a void of shifting colors. Isabella's enhanced senses could barely process its true nature, technology so advanced it existed partially outside normal spacetime. "What happens in there?" she asked, fighting waves of dizziness as her transformation accelerated. "Completion," Krixtal answered, "or destruction. The chamber will either stabilize your changes or—" An explosion rocked the station, closer this time. Through her connection to gateway systems, Isabella felt the Purifier's weapons burning through the last of their defenses. No time for details, she gasped, blood now flowing freely from her nose and ears. How do we activate it? The chamber's surface rippled, responding to her presence. Patterns of light danced across its surface, forming complex mathematical equations that her evolving mind somehow understood. It is already activating, Crixtal observed. Your genetic changes are resonating with its core frequencies. Isabella stepped forward, drawn by forces she couldn't explain. The chamber's surface parted like liquid mercury, revealing a space that seemed to contain entire galaxies. Behind them, the first Purifier troops rounded the corner. Their shadow armor absorbed all light, making them appear as moving holes in reality. They raised weapons that hurt Isabella's enhanced senses just to look at. Now, Commander. Crixtal's crystalline form expanded, creating a barrier between them and their pursuers. The chamber cannot be damaged, but you must enter it before. The ambassador's words cut off as Purifier weapons fire crashed against its defensive form. Isabella knew she had seconds at most. She dove into the chamber just as reality seemed to tear itself apart. Inside, she found herself everywhere and nowhere at once. Past, present, and future overlapped in her consciousness. She saw humanity's entire history, not just what had been, but what could be. The genetic markers left by the Meridians weren't just modifications. They were keys, unlocking potential that had always existed within human DNA. Humanity wasn't being changed, it was being awakened. Through the quantum-entangled walls of the chamber, she sensed the battle raging outside. The Purifiers fought with technological perfection, but Crixtal held them back with something more powerful: adaptability, creativity, the very qualities that had drawn the Meridians to humanity. Isabella felt her transformation reaching its peak. Her consciousness expanded beyond the station, beyond the solar system. She could sense other humans across space, their dormant potential waiting to be triggered. The chamber's energies surged through her, and she understood her true purpose. She wasn't just meant to survive the transformation, she was meant to share it. With newfound power coursing through her transformed being, Isabella emerged from the chamber into chaos. The Purifiers had breached Crixtal's defenses, their weapons carving reality itself. But they hesitated when they saw her. She was still human in form, but now she glowed with internal light that shifted through colors beyond normal perception. Her eyes held galaxies, and reality rippled around her like waves on a cosmic ocean. "Stand down," she said, her voice carrying harmonics that made the Purifier's weapons vibrate sympathetically. "The experiment must end," their leader responded, its armor trying to absorb her radiance and failing. "Human potential is too dangerous to..." "You're right," Isabella interrupted. "Human potential is dangerous, but not in the way you think." She reached out, not with weapons but with understanding. Her transformed consciousness touched the Purifier's minds, showing them what she had seen in the chamber. They saw humanity's true destiny, not as conquerors or destroyers, but as bridges. Human adaptability, creativity, and resilience weren't threats to galactic stability. They were essential to its survival. "Your species brings chaos," the Purifier leader argued, but with less conviction. "We bring change," Isabella corrected. "And the galaxy needs change to survive. That's what the Meridians saw 50,000 years ago. That's what you're afraid of." Through their mental connection, she showed them more: visions of stagnant empires falling to entropy, of civilizations that had grown too rigid to adapt. The galaxy wasn't divided between order and chaos, but between growth and decay. One by one, the Purifier weapons lowered. Their shadow armor shifted, revealing forms that looked almost uncertain. "The changes cannot be stopped now," Isabella continued, "but they don't have to be feared. Help us, guide us, be part of the evolution instead of trying to prevent it." Crixtal moved to her side, its crystalline form resonating with her new energy. "The choice is yours," the ambassador added, as it was always meant to be. The Purifier leader was silent for a long moment. Finally, it spoke. We have existed for millions of years, maintaining order. How can we trust such a young species with so much power? Isabella smiled. Because we know we're not ready for it. Because we understand that power without wisdom is worthless. We don't want to replace you. We want to learn from you. She extended her hand, offering not submission or dominance, but partnership. After what seemed like an eternity, the Purifier leader reached out and took it. The contact sent ripples through reality itself. In that moment, two paths became clear, one of endless conflict, the other of unprecedented cooperation. Throughout Gateway 6, humans and aliens felt the change. The station itself seemed to pulse with new energy, becoming a symbol of what was possible when fear gave way to understanding. Isabella looked out at the stars, her enhanced senses detecting the first stirrings of change in human colonies across space. The awakening had begun, not as a weapon or a threat, but as an invitation to something greater. What happens now? Someone asked. Now, Isabella answered, her voice carrying hope instead of fear. We evolve. Together. The end.